All right, hello everyone. This is Crota coming at you. I know a lot of you guys are expecting more Hearthstone content, but currently Hearthstone is down for maintenance, so I am unable to log in and play any games. So I thought I would go ahead and take a look at the upcoming Curse of Naractmus Hearthstone adventure. And this is pretty much what everyone's waiting for in Hearthstone: new cards. New cards is a definite positive aspect in any trading card game, because it kind of like tosses the meta up into the air, and where the cards lie is where the cards lie, and then people try and figure out what are the strong decks, what beats those stronger decks, what beats those strong decks until a new meta is developed. The Curse of Naractmus should be coming out, I believe, the summer, so it should be very soon. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more cards, but they are going to be releasing it in stages. The first wing is supposedly free, and then you can buy additional wings. I'm not quite sure how you unlock all of those cards, if you have to pay every time you go through a wing, anything like that. I would hope that you just pay to unlock the content, and then you play it through multiple times until you get all of the necessary cards. That's how I would feel a little bit happier about it, as opposed to saying, hey, it's just exactly like buying packs as opposed to an adventure. I wanted to take a look at some of these cards in particular and talk about them in general, what I think they're going to do to the meta. Now, Death Rattle is the big thing in the next set. Here's one of the cards that they released, Baron Rivendare. He is a 4-drop 1/7 that your minions trigger their death rattles twice, which is very important. It's your minions, not all minions, and triggers their death rattles twice. Cards like Loot Hoarder, cards like Harvest Golem, Bloodhoof, current Bloodhoof, those are all, I know I'm butchering these names. Those are all cards where if you trigger their death rattles twice, it is extremely powerful. This is most likely going to be one of those legendaries where you hold in your hand until you know you're going to be sacrificing cards, and you drop it, get extra Harvest Golems, get extra cards to your advantage, and then try to build momentum from that. It is very difficult to take out. It's a 1/7. So it does have a lot of vitality, and your opponents are generally not going to target it with creatures of any sort, since it is a 1/7. It doesn't seem like that big of a threat. So it's one of those guys that sits in the back and is very good for harassment. He's just there to annoy you. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the additional cards. Dancing Swords. It's a 3-drop 4/4 with a negative effect. Your opponent draws a card. Now, if you want to find a way to deal damage to your opponent drawing cards, then I guess it could have a strong benefit. On the cost curve, it is really good. It's a 3-drop 4/4, very difficult to take out. One of the reasons why 4/4s are so strong at 3 is that there's nothing that has 4 attack at a 2-drop, so it can't instantly be taken out. That's why 4/3s are generally frowned upon at a 3-drop, because a 2-drop can easily swing into it and take it out. You kind of need another bonus effect there to have any sort of usefulness. It's very important when you look at cards, looking at their vitality, figuring out what's going on in that aspect and trying to make things better. 3-drop 4/4, it's a solid card. You'll probably see it in Arena, but you probably won't see it much in Constructed unless you are looking straight at a deck that is trying to just rush your opponent down as quickly as possible with damage. Now, Nerubian Egg. It's a 2-drop 0/2 that summons a 4/4 Nerubian. This is extremely well, I don't have to explain why this is good. This is just a problem waiting to hatch, so to speak. You have a 0/2. I can see this being used in Shaman decks, Rockbiter Weapon, Flame Tongue Totem. All of a sudden, your 0/2 becomes a useful, attackable unit, and it runs in and then summons a 4/4. So could you imagine turn 1, Egg, turn 2, Flame Tongue Totem, swing into your opponent's your opponent's 3/2 drop, Sorceress Apprentice, Knife Juggler, and all of a sudden on turn 3, they have to deal with a Flame Tongue Totem and a 6/4 Nerubian. You could do the same thing with a Rock Batter weapon as well. All sorts of goodness can happen here. Very, very strong card. I like to see cards like these just because it adds such a good element. Shade of Axe. It's a stealth. At the start of your turn, gain +1/+1. This is one of those cards that is a growing threat, similar to a questing adventurer, except for it cannot get targeted the turn it comes into play. Yes, its growth potential is slower than a questing adventurer, but you can kind of sit on it and wait as long as you need. If you really, really need a big guy later to swing in, if you want to try and hide it, that is good. But stealth in general, it seems like Blizzard is trying to kind of bring things back in line where stealth is cannot save you from everything, which I believe is the next card. No, not yet. Undertaker. Whenever you summon a minion with Death Rattle, gain +1/+1. Exactly like Secret Keeper, except it only triggers on your guys' Death Rattle cards. So very interesting there. Undertaker turn 1, Nerubian Egg turn 2. Things of that nature. Very, very fun. Poison Seeds. Destroy all minions and summon 2/2 Trents to replace them. This is extreme. This is a very good card because it's Druid. Druid does not have any direct removal aside from Naturalize. Naturalize is the only thing that flat out kills a big threat. One of the biggest problems for Druid is removing very, very large threats in general. Cards like, without a BGH, cards like Ragnaros, cards like Ysera, cards like any of the big legendary drops at 8 and 9 are very difficult to deal with. So Poison Seeds is a way to get around that. Now, it is not completely 100% broken because your 2/2 Trents obviously will not have speed, haste. You know what I'm talking about. Charge. There we go. Wrong game. They will not have charge. So your opponent is going to be able to attack with those 2/2 Trents much more quickly. Also, one of the big things about Poison Seeds is that it gets around stealth. That's very important, especially in what the somewhat current meta. Miracle Rogue has seemed to have fallen out of favor as of late. But if your opponent stealths a Gadgets on Auctioneer on turn 5, with the help of a coin, you can still Poison Seeds and turn it into a 2/2. That is not a problem. So very, very good play there. If you have more units on the field, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to swing with all my guys and then replace it with a 2/2. Very, very interesting. Should be a solid card through and through. Now let's go ahead. A new bar Ambusher. This is a 4-drop 5/5 with a bad Death Rattle. It's going to be very interesting how you use the Death Rattle on this guy because, first of all, solid card, but it's a negative Death Rattle. 4-drop 5/5, you're like, wow, what's the catch? And the catch is you have to return a friendly minion to your hand. Now, could you do some strange things with a new bar Ambusher? Yes, you can, such as another Shadow Step. A new bar Ambusher. You have it on the field with nothing in play. Next turn, Leroy Jenkins, a new bar. You attack with it. A new bar Ambusher. You attack, or you get rid of what? How would you do this? A new bar Ambusher. There are situations where you can kill off your new bar Ambusher after your Leroy Jenkins goes, and bounce the Leroy Jenkins back into your hand so that you can attack it again. So it's, yes, there are good aspects to it. There are bad aspects to it. You have to be extremely, extremely careful how this guy is used. He can come back to bite you, but yes, he can come back to bite you, but he can be useful. It's going to be one of those situations where, hey, it depends on how you play the card. Very, very interesting there. Let's go ahead. Death's Bite, a new warrior weapon. Yes, it really felt like, hey, warriors don't have a really good 4-drop weapon. I mean, we all see the power of True Silver Champion, and now Deathbite is another one of those cards. Deal 1 damage to all minions. It gives a way for, first of all, it's a death rattle on a weapon. Second, it gives a way for warriors to have more board control and board clear. If you can clear the board with warrior, which right now all they have is whirlwind and brawl, two very, very situational cards, adding death bite means that, you know what, I could take out the whirlwinds, add in death's bite, and really play with that. So I like this card a lot. Avenge, when one of your minions dies, give a friendly minion +3/+2. Very situational, but should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to actually see how this works. Should be a very, very strong card. Remember, secrets only trigger on your opponent's turn now, so you can't do any sort of craziness where the secret, where you activate your secret on your turn and then get even stronger guys. I like the fact that secrets can only activate on your opponent's turn now, because otherwise it's just a straight up 1-drop spell that gives a friendly minion +3/+2 for 1. That is so, so good. And now it opens the table for Blizzard to create more interesting cards like this with higher numbers. Duplicate, yeah, I'm not too excited about this particular secret. When the friendly minion dies, put 2 copies of it into your hand. Yes, there are going to be combinations on it, but it's one of those cards where I feel like if you're ahead, it gets you further ahead. It doesn't help you really come back from behind, so to speak. Yes, you can get 2 Ragnaroses and do some crazy things later on, but it doesn't seem altogether that powerful. You could perhaps the best use for it would be getting double Azure Drakes. You can draw 2 more cards. It really depends on, obviously, the minion that you end up duplicating. Moving right along, Rebirth got renamed. I'll go ahead and visit it later. Void Caller, so many good demons that you can put from your hand. Obviously, Illidan is a very, very strong card. Also being able to drop the 5/7 charge, anything that has one of the quote-unquote negative battle cries, because the death rattle triggers somewhat differently than, say, summoning the minion from your hand. It ignores the battle cries. So very large things that have negative quote-unquote death rattles or battle cries, you can go ahead and play them in your hand. You can even jump the curve cost, so to speak. That's all going to be very, very interesting there. Finally, Reincarnate. Destroy a minion, then return it to life with full health. That is really, I think that's going to be a lot of fun and just really interesting to see what you can do as quote-unquote with Shaman. Now, all of the obvious cards in play, or all of the obvious plays, on legendaries with death rattles, that's very important. Yes, that can happen. We all see that. But I'm more interested in the more interesting plays. Say, for example, your opponent has a Molten Giant with Taunt. We've all seen it happen often. You can destroy your opponent's minion and then return it to life, thereby removing the Taunt. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it.